Hello and welcome back to Upgrade Your Life and to our video on the masculinity crisis nowadays. The term masculinity crisis refers to a growing concern about the state of masculinity in modern society. Many people believe that traditional notions of masculinity are under threat, and that this is having a negative impact on men and women alike. In this video, we'll be discussing the causes and consequences of the masculinity crisis in greater detail, as well as some potential solutions. In recent years, there has been a growing concern about the state of masculinity in modern society. Men have long been expected to conform to certain societal expectations of what it means to be a man, but many are now struggling to navigate these expectations in a rapidly changing world. Many people believe that traditional notions of masculinity are under threat, and that this is having a negative impact on men and women alike. In this video, we'll be discussing the causes and consequences of the masculinity crisis in greater detail, its impact on society, and potential solutions to help men navigate this challenging terrain. What is the masculinity crisis? To understand the masculinity crisis, we must first understand what masculinity means. Masculinity is a set of traits and behaviors that are traditionally associated with men, such as physical strength, emotional resilience, and assertiveness. These traits have been reinforced by cultural expectations, media portrayals, and societal norms for generations. However, in recent years, these expectations have come under scrutiny as society becomes more diverse and inclusive. The masculinity crisis is the result of this clash between traditional expectations of masculinity and the changing realities of modern society. Men are struggling to adapt to these changing expectations, leading to a crisis of identity and purpose. This crisis is fueled by several factors, including the changing nature of work, the erosion of traditional gender roles, and the rise of feminism and other progressive social movements. Causes of the masculinity crisis. One of the main causes of the masculinity crisis is the changing role of men in the workplace and in society at large. As traditional male-dominated industries such as manufacturing and mining have declined, many men have struggled to find a place in the new economy. This has led to feelings of frustration and alienation, as well as a sense of loss of purpose. Another factor that has contributed to the masculinity crisis is the changing cultural norms around gender and sexuality. As traditional gender roles have been challenged and redefined, many men have struggled to adapt. The rise of feminism and the LGBTQ+ movement have challenged traditional notions of masculinity and created confusion around what it means to be a man. In addition, the rise of technology and social media has had a profound impact on masculinity. Social media has created a new set of standards for masculinity, often focused on physical appearance, sexual prowess, and material possessions. This has led to a sense of pressure and anxiety among many men, as they feel they must meet these unrealistic expectations. Consequences of the masculinity crisis. The consequences of the masculinity crisis are far-reaching and affect both men and women. One of the main consequences is the rise of toxic masculinity, which refers to the harmful and restrictive cultural norms around masculinity. Toxic masculinity can lead to aggression, violence, and misogyny, and it can have a negative impact on men's mental health and well-being. Another consequence of the masculinity crisis is the rise of the incel movement, which stands for involuntary celibate. This movement is made up of men who feel alienated and rejected by society and who blame women for their problems. The incel movement has been linked to violence and terrorism, and it highlights the dangers of toxic masculinity and the importance of addressing the masculinity crisis. The impact of the masculinity crisis is significant. They may also struggle to form meaningful relationships, as traditional gender roles no longer provide a clear roadmap for dating and romance. The impact of the masculinity crisis extends beyond individual men to society as a whole. Men who are unable to adapt to changing societal expectations may struggle to find their place in society, leading to social isolation and economic stagnation. This, in turn, can lead to a decline in the overall well-being of communities and nations. Potential solutions to the masculinity crisis. The masculinity crisis is a complex problem that requires a multifaceted approach to solve. Some potential solutions include redefining masculinity. One of the most important steps in addressing the masculinity crisis is to redefine what it means to be a man in modern society. This includes breaking down traditional gender roles and expectations and embracing a more inclusive definition of masculinity that values emotional intelligence, empathy, and other traditionally feminine traits. Education. Education is another key component of addressing the masculinity crisis. Men need to be educated about toxic masculinity and its impact on society, as well as the benefits of a more inclusive and egalitarian society. Therapy and support. Men who are struggling with the masculinity crisis may benefit from therapy and other forms of support. This can include individual therapy, support groups, and community outreach programs. Men's health initiatives. Men's health initiatives that focus on physical and mental well-being can also be effective in addressing the masculinity crisis. These initiatives should focus on promoting healthy habits, such as exercise and proper nutrition, as well as providing resources for mental health support. There are a number of potential solutions to the masculinity crisis. One solution is to promote more positive and inclusive forms of masculinity, which celebrate diversity and reject harmful cultural norms. This can be done through education and awareness-raising campaigns, as well as through positive role models in the media and in popular culture. Another solution is to address the root causes of the masculinity crisis, such as the changing nature of work and the need for more inclusive cultural norms around gender and sexuality. This can be done through policy changes and social reform, as well as through community-based initiatives that promote diversity and inclusion. It's worth noting that addressing the masculinity crisis is not just the responsibility of men. Women and other marginalized groups also have a role to play in creating more inclusive cultural norms and promoting positive forms of masculinity. In conclusion, the masculinity crisis is a complex and multifaceted issue that has far-reaching consequences for both men and women. It is important to address this crisis and to promote more positive and inclusive forms of masculinity, as well as to address the root causes of the crisis through policy changes and social reform. Thank you for watching, and we hope this video has been helpful in understanding the causes and consequences of the masculinity crisis, as well as some potential solutions. If you found it informative and thought-provoking, please consider sharing it with your friends and family. Sharing is a great way to help us spread the message and start a conversation about important topics like the one we covered today. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it, please hit the like button. Your likes help us to know what kind of content resonates with our audience and enables us to create more engaging content. Finally, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. Subscribing is the best way to stay up to date on all our latest videos and never miss out on new content. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.